Hello everyone and welcome back to another figure study where we appreciate the form in Transformers, and today we are finally going to take a look at Guardia in his combined form. He's not here yet. That's because I wanted to do a dramatic reveal because I'm silly like that. So just bear with me a moment here. So here we have Guardia fully combined, all the different bits with Vulcan and Katana and Hymed and Axel and Rover and oh my, this it looks incredible, really. I mean, that's kind of the whole summary of what this entire video is going to be, is just how incredible Guardia looks. But you know, I'm gonna have to get into a little bit of the nitty gritty of that. Not really nitty gritty, but you know what I mean. He is, seriously though, he is really, really cool. He has Lake turned out there. He has just some great, like, I should put him back a little bit more so you can see. He has this really great balance of colors where he's got like the black, red, and blue in the center, the predominantly white and black on the legs, and then a little bit of blue in the feet that just kind of tie it all together. The white and the predominantly white for the arms, and then of course Katana has more red than Hymed, but Hymed has a little bit more blue. It's really, really neat. And proportionally, see, that's disappointing. For whatever reason, it might just be mine, but the ankles are actually much looser than they should be for a for a 5 robots combined to make one kind of deal. It's a little disappointing, but anyway. I really dig the asymmetry that's going on here. The fact that Katana's arm as an arm is just a little bit bulkier. We've got the giant blades up there. You've got the giant helicopter tail off to the side. And, you know, that may bug some people, and it can kind of get in the way of articulation, but not always. And plus, you can just kind of pull it down so it's a little bit more out of the way if you need it to be. But I really like how both arms are mostly the same in terms of like width and bulk and all that. But then there's just a little bit extra on Katana that makes him just, you know, a little bit more asymmetrical. But then Axel, by contrast, is a little bit more thin, like a little bit less bulky than Rover is as a leg. So you've got like slightly more bulk and then slightly more bulk, and it just makes this really cool kind of asymmetrical look for him, which I really, really am into. And then, of course, there is contention about his hands, which I actually really like these hands. Let me swing them around here. I know that some people are not into the whole black hand with red fingers type look, and, you know, that's fine if you're not into it. I actually really think this is great. Like, it looks nice. They're actually a little bit bigger than Quantron's hands too. They're a bit wider. Makes him look a little bit just. I mean, he is a little bulkier than Quantron, but it helps kind of sell that look a little bit more. And I like the fact that the fingers are red. It's different. It's something that we don't necessarily see terribly often, and it's a really good look for him. In terms of overall details, it's, you know, you've got helicopter, all these vehicles on different sides. The thighs are the same as Vulcan's thighs, but it is pretty cool how it all comes together for the torso and head section, where you've got some, bring him in a little closer here. We've got like the nicely detailed hip skirts, the abdomen, which is actually a pretty bit of cool transformation that kind of closes in around Vulcan's midsection to bulk him out a little bit. And then, you know, this nicely dense torso. I really like, even though it's simplistic in terms of color, I really like this chest piece. It's got some really interesting molded detail, and just like a little bit of this clear red plastic at the, I guess you could say nipples, and some up here to kind of, you know, almost kind of draws the emergency lights motif into the chest, which just kind of works for the overall theme. It's really cool. And I also actually rather like how he's got this funky kind of collar look going on here. I don't know, it looks good. Now his head is something that when I saw the early shots, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, because it looked like he was doing selfie duck lips. But in hand, it doesn't really seem like he's doing that. Like maybe they tweaked it slightly, I don't know. But it doesn't seem quite as duck lippy. I will say though, the I think the head looks nice with the nice silver detail, the really nice, interesting shade of blue for the eyes that you don't see anywhere else in the figure or any of the figures, which looks really nice. And it's just the helmet that I'm not entirely sure of. It almost looks vaguely Egyptian with like the giant Anubis ears and these weird kind of bits coming off to the side. It's not bad. It's just, I don't know, it just doesn't look quite on par with, say, Vulcan's head sculpt, because Vulcan's head sculpt was freaking amazing. And it's okay. I mean, it's fine. But honestly, when you're looking at Guardia as a whole, you're not paying attention to that head. Now, I also think it's great how, unlike Quantron, which again I will do a video for Quantron eventually, it's gonna be coming. And I do really like Quantron, but unlike Quantron, Hymet's arm got a little off center there. Unlike Quantron, Guardia actually looks pretty cool from all angles. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the whole vehicles stapled to stick legs thing, but I gotta say, like, this actually bulks out the calf really nicely on both sides. Let's flip him around to his axle side here. Like, in that was one issue that I had with Quantron, that from the side, he looked incredibly thin. Like, the legs were kind of thin, the torso was super thin. But Guardia doesn't have that problem. It's just, yeah, could do without the whole two vehicles crashed into his legs and just kind of stuck there look. But honestly, it actually does kind of work. Now, spinning around a little more, I actually think it's also kind of nice how bits of the fire truck kind of make up his torso. And I think it is super clever how they actually managed to engineer him so that the panels that are wrapped around Vulcan's forearms actually create some defined shoulder blades. Like, this is a really cool idea and a really cool look. I am super into it. So yeah, even from behind, Guardia looks pretty awesome. I mean, obviously he looks cooler from the front, but still, he is a very, very nifty figure. He looks so good. And now, in terms of accessories, there's this little thing that is made up of some of the leftovers of Vulcan's ladder and parts, and that can actually attach to his back. And I'm actually, I typically have found myself preferring to attach it on the side. It doesn't attach in the center. It only attaches either on the right or left shoulder. I've actually found I really like attaching it to the left shoulder so that when you have it back there and kind of in conjunction with Katana, it actually pushes the asymmetry even further so that this side just seems even more bulky than this side, and I think that's a really cool look for him. And of course, he's got his guns that are made up of all the different weapons from the different bots, and they're pretty neat. For whatever reason, he doesn't hold his gun in his right hand all that well. And I've tried it with both guns, and I've tried it with different configurations, and for whatever reason, like, I can wrap his fingers around it, and once his fingers are around it, it's fine. But I can actually peg the gun into his left hand, and it sticks without closing the fingers. This one, it'll just fall out unless I immediately close the fingers after pegging it in. But regardless, he is amazing looking. he's he's not necessarily classic defensor, which I know sometimes disappoints folks when they're looking for more classic representation in their third party figures, but he is distinct. Like he's got the really nice powder blue kind of look for the center, and the really nice red and white for the arms and all that. Like the colors and overall just basic look is similar to Defensor, but I really, really like the extra lengths they went to, the new design of Guardia. 'Cause he looks so like familiar, but at the same time completely different. And I love the difference of it. It's fantastic. I mean, even like the wheels up on the chest there, and just there's so many little things about him that I love. And the overall shape is just so cool. Like how the arms are actually a little bit denser than the legs overall, just in terms of like his silhouette. It makes him look like a hulking robot, which is what he's supposed to be. And it's just so cool. And this thing, I could be a little partial because this thing is basically my baby, because I have been putting them together since November. So that's like about 9 months worth of getting all the different robots and finally putting them all together. So it's a weird parallel for me to draw, but too late, I already made it. But yeah, he is just incredible. There are some issues with the, like his ankles are a little too loose. I mean, you can balance him just fine, and getting him into a dynamic pose is actually really nice because it usually pushes the ankles to their limits, which means that you don't have to worry about them being loose. But just getting him to stand, you kind of have to be careful and balance him, and you definitely want to be careful if he's doesn't have anything behind him, because like he has a tendency to want to lean forward, but the way the feet are designed, he just kind of stops. So that's fine. Like that's not going anywhere, but he's leaning forward. So you kind of want to lean him back, and now he's balancing, and like a little poke in the wrong direction and he could very well topple backwards. But yeah, the ankles are a little loose, but whatever. The shoulders, the combiner connections for the shoulders are also incredibly tight, which is kind of scary to get them pulled out from Vulcan. And also the fasteners make it pretty tricky to get the arms off. But what are you going to do? The only other issue I really have been having is, for whatever reason, this right hand, it's just the ball joint on the wrist is much looser than the one on the left. And there you can see he's leaning forward again. So the ball joint on the right hand is a little bit looser than the left, which means if I put the gun in his hand, his wrist just kind of droops down no matter what I do. And also that's the hand that doesn't like to hold the gun very well to begin with. But I honestly can't be mad because this thing is just so cool. It's, again, to reiterate, the asymmetry, the symmetry, he's like this weird amalgamation of all these different seemingly disparate design elements that work so well together. And I just adore it. It's so cool. Just the way the colors are balanced. We've got the red here, the red here, the red in the fingers, the black kind of spread throughout, the blue in the torso. It's so cool. And this is just an incredible figure all around. It was totally worth the wait, and it was a substantial wait because I believe I ended up pre-ordering Vulcan back in May, and that was when it was supposed to come out in May, and it's now July. So it's been a while. Also, that is why, if you may have noticed, if you've been watching all these videos throughout Guardia Week, you've probably noticed that the lighting and overall quality has changed significantly from the Katana video to the Vulcan video. And that's because I started shooting those videos while I had pre-ordered Vulcan and was expecting him to come out in May, and then he got pushed back several months. And in that time, I've been making more of these videos and got better lighting. But was too lazy to reshoot those first 4 videos. That's the important thing. So yes, my apologies for that discrepancy, but this is just So worth it. So worth it. And he and Quantron next to each other look fantastic. And I'll probably end up doing something like showing that off when I eventually do the Quantron video, which will happen. One of these days it will happen when I work up the mental energy to actually disassemble Quantron and put him back together again, because that is kind of an exhausting transformation. But anyway, that has been my look at Maketoys Guardia. This guy is awesome. If you like the Maketoys aesthetic, then you have no reason to avoid this guy. He is so freaking cool. He looks amazing. And if you hate the Maketoys aesthetic, this probably isn't going to change your mind, because he is definitely not classic Defensor, but he is just so cool looking. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And remember, as always, art, extremely badass art, is more than meets the eye.